Welcome to the Complete Fitness Podcast with Core 4 Complete Fitness. Your episode is starting in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. We're both back in action again.
Back, as it should be.
As it should be. Welcome to the Complete Fitness Podcast, everybody. Hopefully you guys are having a great week. The team is back together, and we got a good one for you this week. Like always, guys, if you're a podcast listener or watcher or both, if you're watching us on YouTube or you're listening to us on one of the apps on your phone, there is a little subscribe button. If you could please press that bad boy. That way when we blast out a new episode, you'll get alerted in real time, and it helps us boost up the charts for all the health and fitness podcasts in the world. So people will listen to our stuff and nobody else's BS.
Only us.
Only us. But today we got kind of a 2-for-1, guys, and they kind of tie into each other. I'll start with kind of what we had, and then we'll kind of do our own spin on it. So we wanted to talk to you guys about one of the things that everybody wants more of, yet they don't know how to get it. Yes, you're probably thinking money, but energy. People want to feel good and have energy all day long, but they don't know how to get it. And one of the biggest things, like from the fitness space, that we hear people say, when it's time to get in shape, I need motivation, I need energy, I need X, Y, and Z. I'm too tired to work out in the morning, I'm too tired to work out at night. And eventually you have to go, okay, I have to kind of put one foot in front of the other. But imagine how difficult it is to exercise, or if you're starting off at square one and you haven't exercised in, let's say, 5-6 years or a decade even, you've been eating nothing but crap for the past 5-6-7 years or a decade even. So naturally, are you going to be filled with energy and all this spunk to go hit your workout? No, you're probably going to feel like garbage, and it's probably going to seem like it's the absolute last thing that you want to do to make yourself healthy and give yourself more energy. But it all has that snowball effect, right? So, like I said, if you're eating garbage all day and sucking down Mountain Dew and you're having Pop-Tarts and you're having pizza delivered to your house, how well do you think you're going to perform in the gym or in the real world? Probably not very good. Your energy levels are going to be low. You're going to be tired. They're going to be lethargic. And all you're going to want to do is kind of build this snowball back up of not moving, eating crap, not moving, eating crap. They kind of feed into each other. But if you can be the one that sort of breaks the chain and you're like, okay, Monday or whenever, this can be tomorrow, you go for breakfast, instead of a Pop-Tart, I'm going to have whatever, a protein bar, a protein shake. I'm going to make a couple eggs that take 5 minutes, and that's how I'm going to start my day. And then all of a sudden by lunch, you're like, wow, I feel good. I have more energy. I don't feel lethargic. I don't feel like I need to take a nap. I'm going to eat something healthy again because I like the way that this feels instead of the other side of the coin. Same thing for dinner. I'm going to have a salad instead of a pizza. And before you know it, 2-3 days go by and you start to get addicted to the feeling of feeling good rather than having the feeling of feeling good from food. Yes, you can still enjoy those things in moderation, but a lot of us live for temporary moments of happiness that lead to long-term misery instead of going, I'm going to go through a temporary period of maybe being uncomfortable in the gym or eating something maybe that isn't, the most sugar-laden stuff that you might have to get down a salad, but you know that it's going to pay off for years and years and years down the line. So when you want energy, you must create energy. You have to do things, move things in the right direction to give yourself that feeling of feeling good and to kind of wake your body up.
Absolutely. The thing that I think of is, it's a quote-ish thing. It says, a glass of water and a walk is better than a cup of coffee anytime. And it's just kind of, it's a simple way of saying, the only way out is through when we're lethargic and tired and not feeling the energy. And everybody in the world feels better after they move. Okay, we're meant to move our bodies. And I think in a super, very basic, fundamental way, that's why we're tired often. It's because we're not moving as much as we should be. So when you're moving, um, and not what's the saying?
An object in motion stays in motion.
Stays in motion, right? People are kind of the same way. Obviously, there's time for rest and stopping, but you need to start the next day, right? If you stay in bed or in your house or whatever, if you can work remotely or whatever, um, and you just kind of lounge through your day and it's noon, it's hard to then just go pop up and go out and go to the store and go to the gym and go to things and whatever. Um, just like it is at 7 in the morning to go do it. It never gets easier later in the day, even if you get a ton of sleep, even if you get a bunch of rest, even if you have time, to have your coffee and your breakfast or whatever. It's still that motion is what actually does it. So we found, you and I, having to get up early and go into work early, just the nature of our job. Um, Obviously, coffee is important. I have coffee every single morning, of course. Um, But if it was coffee and just sitting down and chilling, it's way different than coffee and coaching a class, right? So we don't coach every single morning, but I know firsthand experience, I am much more energetic and feel much better on the mornings that I wake up and coach first thing in the morning. I'm having the coffee, I'm having the water, I'm doing all the stuff I usually do. However, I'm also moving my body, right? And that doesn't mean doing a full intense workout. My heart rate's not getting crazy up when I'm coaching on the floor. I'm not doing a ton of reps so that my muscles are getting fatigued and I need to stop and sit there and breathe in my own, sweat for a while. All those things are good. If you're somebody who wakes up and works out first thing in the morning, that's great. Good for you. Get it over with. And the same things are going to apply. But simply moving and getting things started is huge. Wake up, walk your dog before you go to work, before you start work, get out of the house, walk by yourself. Whatever it is, just simply moving, walking pads, treadmills, whatever we have in our house, dedicating 10 minutes, 15 minutes to moving while you're having your cup of coffee or before you're having your cup of coffee. It's gonna keep us in motion for the rest of the day a lot longer. And I found, I'm sure what you have found too, correct me if I'm wrong, once you stop, it's easier to start again. It's almost like the battery is charged. Like if you're starting the day, you're on zero battery, it's hard. But if you got up to 70, 80 battery life and then you stopped and there's still like 30 battery life when you start again, it's way easier than zero battery life to start again. So obviously it's hard to stop and start, stop and start, stop and start. There's their own challenges. Going back to work, firing back up again in the afternoon. That sometimes can be brutal. But having done it in the morning and having moving is way easier than laying around until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when we start our second shift. That's the hardest day, to get moving and get going and feeling good. So yeah, movement is huge. It's a huge reason for energy, and it's, in my belief, it's as simple as, yeah, that's how we were designed. Birds were designed to fly. If they didn't fly, they wouldn't feel good. Fish were designed to swim. If they just sat there but didn't swim, they wouldn't feel good. We're designed to walk around and move and hunt and gather and do things. So we're not supposed to just sit at a screen. That makes us not feel good.
Yeah. And like you said, even when we use the gym as examples, but even if you think on like a lazy Sunday or a Saturday and let's say football's on and you're watching the games and someone can be like, I need you to run to the grocery store real quick to grab whatever, ice. Takes you probably no more than 10 minutes, but it feels like it's pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Just to get you to be like, oh my God, I gotta get my Crocs on and go in the car and
Yeah.
pick up, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's a simple, mundane task that's super duper easy.
Right.
And then you think of like days in the summertime that you're like, we woke up, I cut the grass, I weed whacked, we mulched, I did this. And like, once you get going, you're like, okay, I'm in the habit, I'm in the routine, and you can just start banging stuff out like that.
I'll pop
But
over and grab ice. It'll actually be a 10-minute break from my busy day. I could pop in, or maybe there'll be like a little bag of candy, a little treat for myself. I'll get something, I'll grab an energy drink, something. Yeah, you kind of, right. It's not a challenge. The challenge fully shifts for the day, right? When you're not doing anything, that is the mountain you have to climb. But when you're doing stuff and actively moving, you go, oh, this isn't a mountain at all.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
This is
Not a
just the
challenge at all.
next task that I do. But again, you're
Right.
awake, you're feeling good, your legs are moving, you're in the sun, and everything's kind of clicking. But with that, guys, just like we said, how, you know, things in motion like to stay in motion. Energy is created and it keeps going and going and going. There's things that can slow that down. And what you want to try to do is avoid those traps that's going to slow or stop your energy. So, biggest one, easiest one, sleep. Try to have like a consistent bedtime every night, a semi consistent wake up time every night. Don't go to bed at 3 a.m., wake up at 7, then the next day you can't get to sleep at 9. So you'll go to sleep again at 4, you wake up at, like, you're all over the place. So for your energy levels, your body's going, what the heck is going on? I'm trying to sleep when I was awake yesterday. I'm awake when I'm trying to sleep, and it's all over the place. So consistent wake up time and sleep time. And then the other one, guys, you know, we preach on it like crazy, but water, 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 water. Take this thing everywhere like it's a newborn baby. You can stick your baby in your cup holder. But this, guys, is kind of like your diesel fuel. And with everything, like we said, if you have a couple cups of coffee in the morning or you need a pick me up in the afternoon, that's not the end of the world. But a lot of people go so hyper focused on caffeine mode that they're just turning into this big ball of anxiety, and you get these giant peaks and then giant crashes. So when you crash, what do? Oh my gosh, I need more coffee or I need more caffeine, and you get a giant peak and a giant crash, and then the crash again. Oh my God, I need more caffeine. And then you look at it and you're like, I have had 2 glasses of water today, and all I
Right.
have had is strictly caffeine coursing through my veins. So, you know, is caffeine, you know, can you never have it? Absolutely not. I love it as much as the next person. Pretty much all of us love it. But make sure you kind of have like a ratio going with water. So I think of this almost like 80-20 or 90-10. Make sure 80 or 90% of what I'm getting in that's a liquid is water. And then if my 10% wants to be a couple cups of coffee in the morning or again in the afternoon, I know that I'm still staying hydrated because that caffeine, it's a diuretic. You drink it, makes you want to go pee. You go pee, then what do? You get the crash, so you want more caffeine. You drink it, makes you go pee, so you're dehydrating yourself. You feel tired when all your body really is doing is trying to go, give me some damn water because I need to get this energy. But you guys will notice you're
Right.
way more even keel. You don't get these peaks and valleys. You're more steady throughout the day. And then if you truly need a little pick me up, you know that you have a good hydration base that caffeine can kind of rest on to actually do its job.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, and we have talked about this on the podcast before, but probably like a year ago. It's been a long time. Is we actually turn ourselves into fighting dehydration rather than fighting energy. So we go through the mundaneness of our day, and we're not stimulated. We're not necessarily challenged all the time. So there's just that factor of just kind of boredom, which leads to fatigue and sleepy feeling because you're just like, I'm tired, right? I don't have anything going on. It's a
Yeah.
rainy day. I'm working. I do the same thing I do every day. Here for 4 more hours, here for 3 more hours. Then I got to run the kid. That monotony gets old, so we get tired in it because we're not stimulated and challenged and interested in what's going on per se. Um, so that's one. But on top of that, we're fighting this dehydration, which is way more of an energy suck than just not sleeping well, right? So we're down, and we're planning on, oh, I didn't get a good night's sleep, or I had to get up earlier. The dog woke me up, or my kid woke me up. So, like you said, coffee, 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 coffee. You're not fighting that anymore. You're tired and fatigued and sleepy now because you've had no water and you're fighting dehydration. Nothing makes you feel groggier and worse and more sick and more tired than dehydration. So yeah, like you said, just piggybacking on it. If you're not meeting or adding more water than you are coffee or tea or whatever your, stimulant caffeine source is, it's not going to ultimately work. It's just falling on deaf ears, so to speak. It's just nothing. You're just adding no, because caffeine doesn't help with dehydration. And dehydration is what's going to give you, fixing your dehydration is what's going to give you more energy. So you can add caffeine, and all that does is tell you you're not tired, right? That's how caffeine works. That's what happens when you drink a cup of coffee. And I don't know the whole science on it. There's probably some good nutritionists, way better, more qualified than I, that would roll their eyes at this, but it doesn't give you energy. It just stops the thing that's telling you you're tired. No? Isn't that correct?
Probably sounds right.
Yeah.
I
It
mean, it's
is
not like
now,
it like
baby.
actually like makes your eyes open, like you're like, bing, it
Yeah.
worked. You're
You're
kind of
just
just
chilling.
like, okay, I'm out of the funk.
Right. So if that is not just battling out your sleep fatigue, your tiredness, you're also battling your whole body's hydration. There's no question, and adding to it is just it's nothing. It's actually making you more tired in a sense. So yeah, I catch myself often. I wake up, I have some coffee, I have this green matcha tea I've been starting my days with, and it just kind of is enough to get things going. I'll delay my caffeine like an hour. Um, some days I don't. Some days I wake up. Monday was an example. I woke up and it was just a brutal weekend night's sleep, and I was like, okay, I'm coffee right away. I got to get this thing going. So I'm not perfect about it, but then it's waters, intermittently waters, and it's two things, like you said. It's not making myself dehydrated, which I know is going to make me tired, and it prolongs the crash because the crash is coming. And as long as the caffeine can kind of balance and bounce on the water, the stimulation you get from the caffeine, if you want to call it that, will sustain longer, right? It's less peaks and valleys. It's more gradual. You definitely will lose it after you don't have caffeine. Come 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you're like, okay, I'm exhausted. Uh, but that's way better than a harsh stop at 2 p.m. and you go, I still have half the day to go. What am I
Yeah,
going to do? So it's huge. It's huge. You can't mess with dehydration at all, especially if you're trying to have energy, trying to be energetic. Think about when you're sick. Oftentimes, a lot of the symptoms we feel from when we're sick is because we're not eating or drinking as much as we usually do, and we're laying around, and so we're sluggish, we're fatigued, we're sore, or whatever. That's not a time for you to be energetic. No way. And it's the same thing. If all we're doing is energy drinks and caffeine and coffee and tea, even if they're natural caffeine sources like black coffee, if you're not hydrating yourself, it's the falling on deaf ears.
yeah. And think of it. It is what it. I mean, it's a drug when you break it down, but like with any drug, you can get it loses its potency, right? There's people that we know that go
Right.
off and they have one strawberry daiquiri and they're off the chains, hammered, and then there's people that
You
have
know who
like
you
10
are.
beers that you would never know are even intoxicated. So caffeine, it's like the same way. So if you're a habitual morning 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock, one before you go out, I mean, that caffeine potency to you, what would kill a normal man, you're like, okay, this is doing nothing to me. I get a boost for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour, and then a crash, and then a little boost, and then it goes away. As opposed to where if you can kind of like ration and use it as like the break glass in case of emergency thing, have it, for breakfast in the morning or when you wake up. And then again, if you're like, my time is at 5 a.m. and 3 p.m., just to get me going, so it still has an effect on you. But I think I told you when I did, this was like a year ago, I did that 21-day caffeine cleanse, and it was insane on day one compared to day 21 how much different the caffeine felt when it hit. Like I had two
Oh, I
cups of
bet.
coffee and I was like, this might as well have been jet fuel injected into my body. And then I was like, this is what it's probably supposed to do inside me is
Right.
make you feel good, make you feel awake. So if you need to take a caffeine break, if you do find that you're drinking it all the time and you're like, my energy sucks, I'm low, give caffeine a break. You might have a little bit of a headache. Focus on water, water, water. You don't have to do 21 days, but even just taking a week off, that first sip again, you're like, wow, this is all I need now is maybe one cup in the morning instead of two.
Well, like I said, when I started, with a matcha tea first, um, it'd be brutal for the first hour. I'd be like, man, I'd feel so much better if I had coffee. But then once I get it, and this is just an hour delay. This isn't what you're talking about at all. This is a way less. Once I do implement that coffee, I'm like, okay, this is the stuff. This is good because I had a body of or an hour and a half of just water and this matcha tea, which it's like the mushroom matcha stuff that's all trendy or whatever.
Earthy and yeah.
Bought it off Instagram like everybody. I'm a sucker, fell for it, but it's good. I like it. I enjoy it. So, but it has a bunch of like these natural things and elements and blah 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 that's good for us. And yeah, just delaying it once the caffeine does hit, rather than hitting at 4:30 in the morning. It's not till like 8, when it's all said and done, 7:30. Uh, yeah, I see a big difference in the feeling it gives me and the longevity of it because it's again back to what we were just talking about. It's building off of a hydrated body. It's not building off of zero, and that's the other problem. That's when do we have coffee? First thing in the morning when
Empty stomach.
We've been sleeping all night, empty stomach, no water. We've just been sleeping, dehydrating all night. We wake up, we take a pee, and then we start with coffee. And it's slowing down, listening to your body. We get jittery, we get anxious, we feel all this stuff, and we ignore it. And we go, oh, this is just the coffee jitters again. No, if it's jittering and you're freaking out, there's an imbalance somewhere. You didn't do enough water. You drank too much coffee. You drank it too fast. If we're mindful of it, we can never experience that. More to say, you don't have to suffer and deal with that every single day. If you do, and a lot of us don't, because like you said, it's the 10 beer guy, like you just said. People just pour caffeine on them, and they're like, yeah, it's fine. Where if I had as much caffeine as the guy next to me, my heart would have. Even you, I think you have a way higher caffeine tolerance than I do. If I
I'm
drink
good. I'll drink. Every morning I have 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And then I'm good till like 3. And sometimes I'll either have another thing of coffee or like a sugar-free like Red Bull. But if I don't, then I go for shameless plug, Core 4 Supplements Torch Supplement.
There you go.
And that is my go-to. Hold on, my thing's popping up. There we go.
Lost your video for a sec.
But
yeah, that's but
by 4 o'clock, I'm done. I always go by 4 o'clock. Have whatever I want, but there's no opening drinking any more caffeine basically after 4.
How much more do you think? Yeah, we're almost there. Special guest. Just to
Hi,
sign
Ro.
up. What do you have there, Rowan?
Okay.
Oh, don't touch it with your hand. You'll be all sticky.
A child's energy drink.
Right. What do you have to say to Uncle Corey?
Let me see that Spider-Man I gave you.
Wasn't that fun?
Yeah.
We look at pictures all the time of his Spider-Man helmet.
Oh, yeah, that was the best, huh?
That was fun. Very good podcasting for the audio listeners. All right,
Very
buddy,
good.
we have
Just
to
us
wrap it
talking
up.
to a 3-year-old. But
We have to wrap it
that'll
up.
be good, guys. We can save part 2 for next week.
Bye-bye.
Good job.
Bye,
Good
Ro. But yeah,
All right, let's close it out. Let's wrap it up. We'll be back.
We'll go part 2 next week. This will be a good preamble for what we have planned afterwards. But it ties into what we want to talk about next week. But this will kind of give you guys the baseline to go off of. If you're a person that's like has long days or they're like, what do I do to keep myself pumping? Remember in the beginning, stay in motion, stay moving, keep your body active. Don't go super caffeine overload. That's just going to give you a peak and a crash. Water, water, water. Keep your body moving. Focus on good stuff. And eventually, if you don't have energy right now, do one thing that'll kind of like spark it. And then all you have to do is keep on chugging along. But that's just all, peoples. Behave yourselves. Have a great week. Have a great day. And we'll see you for part 2 next week.
Bye-bye.
Peace.